WFNY BrownsCast. This is a special emergency BrownsCast. So special that I, Gerbs, am here alongside your usual BrownsCast hosts, Josh Poloha and Joe. We're going to call him the original Joe Gilbert. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm
Fantastic.
Good. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
It's finally over.
Good. Yes, this is when I came to WFNY, Gilbert was here already, and because we were both Joe G's, we just determined that I'm just going to be Gerbs, which is fine because that's how I've grown up most of my life. So
I kicked them out of Joe Gerberry.
Right. So I'm good with Gerbs, and I kept it, and we're going to run with it. So before we get into the reason for the pod tonight, we want to make sure. I'm sure you can already guess if you're listening, following along with us on live, on Facebook, on YouTube. You're listening to us on Spotify tomorrow, whatever. I'm sure you know the reason for why we're on here tonight, but be remiss if I didn't tell you guys about BreakingT.com. You go to BreakingT.com/WFNY. You can find that's your Cleveland collection of all of the great shirts that Breaking T has. The Guardian stuff is on the very top. The most recent ones, Night Andres Jimenez. You're one of the best hitters after me, the J-Ram shirt. But they do have some pretty cool Brown stuff. They have that's Amare for Amare Cooper. They still have some Miles stuff on there. The Sack Reaper, the Warden is on duty since Denzel is going to be here for a long time. Go ahead and grab one of those. You can look past the Baker touchdown maker and the Baker Sugar Skull, because we are here on the podcast to discuss the news today that Baker Mayfield is no longer going to be on the Cleveland Browns roster. He was traded today to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 5th round pick that can become a 4th round pick for Cleveland. If I believe that I saw from Tom Withers over at AP on Twitter, if Baker plays 70% of the snaps for Carolina, that pick comes from a 5th to a 4th round pick for Cleveland. Plus, Baker can actually earn back some salary through incentives. He's able to get back some salary because to get the deal done, Baker actually had to rescind some money. It's been reported. So the financials real quick before I throw to you guys. Cleveland is going to pay $10.5 million of the Baker contract. Carolina is going to pick up the tab for $5 million. And then Baker is going to, as I said, rescind $3.5 million of his salary cap number. Charles Robinson was reporting that this was the Baker rescinding the money was what made the draft pick escalate from what was talked about during the draft. So how are you guys feeling about this trade? What are your initial feelings about Baker being a Panther, about what this means with the Browns roster as it goes forward? Josh, why don't you start us off, since you are usually the host? I'm taking your seat, taking your spot. I'm on your corner right now.
I like sitting in the back seat though.
It is nice. I drive the corner cast, and I had Mitch host one day, and it was great. I got to just come in at the end. It was great. So I totally get what you're feeling right now.
And I can tell that you host the corner cast because you had to bring up the Guardians within a minute of doing the Browns cast, by the way, with the Breaking T stuff.
The Breaking T, it's just on the top. It's just on the top of the page.
And by the way,
so I want to make sure.
I wasn't paying that full attention. Did you say we're part of the Evergreen Podcast Network?
I did not see the Evergreen Podcast Network.
All right. Before you get in trouble by Craig Lindell, we are part of the Evergreen Podcast Network.
Craig does still stalk the Discord, so I have to make sure I cover some of those things. So,
but my feelings. First, I feel relieved. I mean, it wasn't people said, might Baker start for the Browns this season if Deshaun Watson suspended? That was never going to happen. People said the Browns might cut Baker. That was never going to happen either. It was inevitable that he was going to be traded. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. I'm just glad that it happened in as early as, I guess it wasn't really that early. It's July July 6th. But I'm just glad it's over with. I'm gonna miss Baker. He brought a lot of happiness to Cleveland. I'll never forget that Thursday night game, like when we broke open the Bud Light fridges, or him beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh to get that playoff win. But it was time. It was time, and I'm glad the Baker experience is over.
Yeah,
Gilbert, what are you feeling?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter, and it kind of summed up my thoughts. It just felt like at the end of Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Thanos kind of walks into his own planet and kind of sits down and relaxes. That's how I feel. I'm just it was just tiring with all the dumb kind of useless conversations we were having, like, oh, maybe he can stay and play. Like, that was never a realistic position to be arguing, I think. And then I just was getting tired of it, and I think the Browns probably were getting tired of it, and they wanted to make it end right before training camp so they can just focus on what's on the team. And so I'm definitely relieved.
Yeah, I agree with you. My initial thoughts, as I have a text thread with some friends, that the gift that came out was the Frodo Lord of the Return of the King. It's done. It's over. It's finally done. So and I am as big a Baker stan as anybody. Well, I can't even say that because Brown's Twitter got overrun by Baker Bros. Yeah. But I was as rational a Baker's fan as I think there could possibly be, and even I was ready to be done with the situation as it was. Hearing just people back and forth on, maybe they can reconcile it. Maybe this can still happen.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he'll be the starter during Watson's suspension, and we even discussed it on private side Discord as late as today. That I think in our hearts we all kind of wish that it actually could happen, that there was an amicable split, or an amicable enough agreement that he could be. It's because as Browns fans, we're looking down the barrel at Jacoby Brissett right now, being the quarterback, and as tantalizing as Brisket Brissett is, we don't necessarily, a Baker with something to prove is a better option in my eyes than Jacoby Brissett. But I'm happy that it's done. I'm happy that he's in a spot that is going to probably more than likely allow him to get a starter's job, because I do think that there is talent there. But I just, I'm not real sure that there was a spot for him in Cleveland. Really happy that it's done. Just happy that we're able to move on. So
yeah.
A few things before we move on. I can't believe that national reporters still were thinking that Baker Mayfield could start for the Browns, even after Baker Mayfield interviewed last week at his kids youth camp in Austin. I think it was Austin, somewhere in Texas, and he literally said that it's time to move on. And the national reporters were like, well, what if Baker Mayfield plays for the Browns again?
I heard it yesterday.
Seriously, I'm like, I know it's the NFL offseason and you need stuff to talk about, but sometimes it just move on.
Right.
And by the way, I can't wait to see Baker play with a chip on his shoulder and like people doubting him because he's never played like that before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm laughing. For those not watching live, that's a joke.
Truthfully, there is maybe 5 people, Tom Brady being one of them, that plays with a bigger chip on his shoulder than Baker Mayfield, whether it be self-created or not. Baker continually looks for slights amongst the best of them. So
he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL if it's in terms of chips on shoulders.
Absolutely.
And this is not hating on Baker. I just like the week 1 when it's. By the way, we'll discuss this. Week 1, Browns at Carolina. It will most likely be Jacoby Brissett versus Baker Mayfield. If I had to take a shot every time I heard chip on shoulder, I might be drunk by the end of the first quarter.
I wouldn't count your chickens too early on that.
Yeah, Matt Corral's going to win the job.
Wait, hold on. Are you talking Jacoby or are you talking Baker?
No, I'm talking Baker.
Matt Corral's going to come in. Matt Corral's going to do it. That's who's going to get it.
I'm just saying, like, it's going to be tough getting it. He's got 2 weeks until training camp, and he's got a ways to go to catch up to Darnold in terms of just learning the playbook.
And Matt Rule's seat is hotter than the sun right now, so you better start Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold.
Well, he is Matt Rule, so he can make any.
As I wrote today, you check out our WFNY pages, waitingfornextyear.com, for my post today. The cost, though, that Carolina, you say that Matt Rule is on the hot seat. I definitely agree with you on that. Baker does represent the most talented quarterback in that room in Carolina. But the cost that Carolina is giving up, a 5th round, possibly a 4th round, and only $5 million to Baker, that's not a cost that Carolina has to look at and say he has to be the starter. That right. Because we get into some of these situations where, well, we paid him, we have to start him. Carolina doesn't necessarily have to do that. You can look at like Sam Darnold last year. They paid a 2nd round pick for him, and plus, they definitely needed to start Sam over whatever else they had. And then 2 or 3 games in the year, you realize that Sam wasn't really actually going to be the guy that they needed to do. So, it's I don't think I'm with Joe in that you can't count him too quickly, but I do think that Baker does represent the best talent in that quarterback room, and in the NFL, talent more often than not wins out.
True.
Yes, and before I know this is a Browns podcast, but I need to rip on the Panthers a little bit because, we thought the Browns had a bad time picking quarterbacks. I saw this tweet from Warren Sharp earlier. The Panthers have invested a 2nd, 3rd, 2 4ths, a 5th, and a 6th in their quarterback round picks, by the way, in their quarterback room. And then this ended up with Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Matt Corral. So if we thought the Browns had trouble finding a franchise quarterback, the Panthers might be up there too.
If it doesn't work out, they can always bring back Cam.
Oh my God!
I feel like that's always the fallback there.
Where's Cam's number? They're just hiding it from Matt Rule. Cam's changing it all like every week.
Oh my! Panthers. I hope Baker plays well. I don't know how much we're talking Panthers wise here. I hope Baker plays well outside of week 1. I really do.
True.
I hope the best for him.
Yes.
He kind of got screwed over. He kind of screwed himself over in Cleveland, but he kind of got screwed over with the Browns too. It's both parties involved.
I don't think we can say that Cleveland kind of screwed him over. I think those were some self-sabotage steps that happened.
He made his own bed there.
He didn't do himself any favor. Yeah, like Gilbert said, he made his own bed. But yeah, I hope for the best. I can't wait for his first chip on the shoulder comment because that's just to be like, oh my gosh, Baker, get a new sentence, please.
I'm surprised he hasn't tweeted yet.
Or he's in the Bahamas. It's his 3rd wedding anniversary, so he's probably enjoying life in Bahamas right now.
Or is he on a Twitter
hiatus?
Twitter hiatus.
He's gone dark. Zero dark Baker.
Zero dark Baker. Or hey, maybe he's liked some tweets. Maybe we should go on his likes. I'm sure he's liked some interesting tweets.
He's liking some bangers out there, I'm sure. So let's move forward. Because this is, as you say, agreed, a Browns podcast. What does this trade mean for Cleveland? Obviously, we haven't been able to really talk a lot of Browns, and I know we're going to talk more as training camp gets close. You guys will do more of this podcast. I might jump on with you more often. I know we're going to start. We'll get the writing part ramped up a little bit more. Mostly because the Deshaun Watson of it all is it's a lead balloon that's covering a lot of what we're able to talk about. So we have that hanging over us. Once the suspension is finalized, obviously we'll get a little bit more clarity on what it means for the Browns going into the season. But what does this trade brighten up? What does this remove for Cleveland? What does it add for Cleveland? Is it an addition by subtraction? What what does this mean for Cleveland as they can move on from the Baker Reagan Mayfield era? I'm going to use his three names. You sign your letter with your three names. I'm going to use your three names. I don't care if that's bitterness and pettiness on my end. You made that bed, sir. BRM. That's where we're at.
BRM. Baker Reagan.
Baker
Gilbert,
Reagan.
you go first on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just the first step of getting more clarity. This offseason has just been like you just don't know what to expect. It's been
every offseason since 1999. Continue.
Right. Yeah, and like at the most important position in all sports, probably, and you just don't know who's going to line up week 1 or week 15. So this is the first step of kind of getting a little bit more clarity, but the real clarity will come down in a couple of weeks, hopefully, and we can finally see what we have going for this season. But yeah, it was just nice kind of putting this behind us. I kind of was impressed of how much they actually got. They were literally negotiating with one team. They kind of
because Seattle wasn't interested at all,
right?
right?
No.
Seattle was totally. They're Drew Lock and Geno Smith, right? They're totally in on that. That's that's the quarterback room.
That's the quarterback room.
Drew Lock. I don't know Drew Lock's middle name.
If the U.S. Open Twitter account can rag on you so good that it goes like viral, that's when you know your quarterback room is bad.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucked for C.J. Stroud or whatever. I don't even know what the
suck for Stroud. Sure,
Stroud.
We can go with that.
Sure.
That can go in so many different directions, but we'll just
get your head out of the gutter, Josh. Get your head out of the gutter.
Hey, it was suck for luck. So I mean that's
true.
It was
wow. That one's even worse.
It's not whatever. Josh, I'll ask you this, and Gilbert, you can go in on this. The Browns are saving $8.5 million with this trade. That's the $5 million that Carolina's doing, and the $3.5 that Baker is having. So, what can they add? We've talked about that they've had the additions that they could add to the roster. This is a move that they wanted to make to save salary. What are some moves that they could make to help bolster the roster now with this extra savings? 8.5 is a pretty decent number for a player. Who do you think is out there that they could possibly look at? I know it's late in the game, free agency wise, but there's always guys that are still out there. Clowney signed right around the same time that he did the year before. So there's still value out there, value guys that are out there that are just waiting for a spot. So what position do you think? I'll give you position because I'm just throwing wing at you. Players, what position do you think they need to address more than anything with this cap space? Josh, go ahead.
Oh, shoot, you're going with me first. And by the way, no, I didn't answer the last question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
But no, my answer to the last question is that it was inevitable that he was going to be traded, so I'm just glad they got cap savings and draft capital for him. I know people are hating on like, wow, you only got a 5th-round pick, possibly a 4th-rounder for a number 1 overall pick a few years ago. The Browns were in the no-win situation. Everyone knew that they had to trade him. So the fact that they got a 5th-rounder, most likely a 4th-rounder if Baker starts and stays healthy, I'm perfectly fine with that. And they saved some cap space, even though they're still eating like $10 million. It is what it is.
Ryan Russillo had a good point on. I still listen to the Bill Simmons podcast. I'm one of them.
I'm so sorry.
But he had a good point because he was talking about how like the Jeremy Grant trade. And I know this is completely separate. This is NBA, but they were talking about or actually I think it was Malcolm Brogdon, how little Boston gave up to get Malcolm Brogdon. Russillo brought up that when these guys are on the market for as long as they are, these teams don't just wake up and say, F it, let's make a trade. It's not like they just said, we're going to get Malcolm Brogdon today. We're going to go get Jeremy Grant today. Carolina woke up and said, yesterday was yesterday. Today's a good day. We're going to trade for Baker today. These things get hammered out and hammered out and hammered out. And they're available for so long that the return isn't as big as you would think because they were available for as long as they were. So it's kind of hard to say, you know, to be excited about a possible 4th round pick, but when you don't have your first for the next couple of years, when when you're as good as Andrew Berry is at drafts and things, you know, a 4th round pick can be just as good as a free agency signing. And now you got some cap space to maybe sign some guys to extensions too. So since Josh skirted my roster,
we're back.
You want to get back on it now or
yes,
no? You want to go back
number
to
one need?
Number one position need that they're going to use this money on.
Wide receiver. Outside of Amari Cooper, I know they have David Bell, but outside of Amari Cooper,
no drops.
So many question marks in the wide receiver room. And I mean, Amari Cooper, he's a true number one. He's a good route runner, but the Browns are counting on Deshaun Watson to make that wide receiver room better. If Jacoby Brissett is the guy for like half the season, and the only guy that you can truly count on, Gilbert's smirking. I can only imagine his response to this. The only guy that you can count on right now is Amari Cooper. That might be an issue. So I don't know who you could go out. I'm trying to think of who's still out there. I'm the guy that played for Houston with Deshaun Watson. Will Fuller.
Oh, Will Fuller.
He's still out there, isn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe a guy like that, like a guy that can just open up the field for the rest of his group, even if he's like more of a decoy than anything. Wide receiver scares me. It really does.
That's a good. I'm not gonna rip that. I understand that one, especially with this season where you don't know who the actual quarterback will be. If it was Deshaun Watson, I wouldn't necessarily have that as the top one, but I can definitely understand it. I would go with like defensive tackle, interior defensive line. It's super young, super inexperienced, and not a lot of like production that you can bank on right now. So getting maybe a veteran like I think Ndamukong Suh is still out there, just giving a presence in the locker room. I think Richardson is out there too. Former Brown is still there too. But yeah, getting a veteran in there would be kind of helpful. But I don't think they're going to use this money. I think they're going to kind of bank it and kind of keep it for next year, roll over. I just don't at this point. I have a hard time seeing that they actually add something. But
so in other words, Gilbert thinks that they are waiting for next year to use the money.
Hey, that's good branding. That's good with that.
That is true.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Joe. I do want to see a defensive tackle being added. I'm not sure on Richardson. I was looking at a NFL Trade Rumors.co free agents that are still available, and I saw there are guys on here that I know have signed, like Larry Ogunjobi signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers and is still available here on the list. So obviously this is not an up-to-date list.
That list seems reliable.
Yeah. There are guys like T.Y. Hilton that I know haven't signed anywhere. This is saying Emmanuel Sanders is still available. Deshaun Jackson possibly. I mean, these are we're getting old, but these are guys that are that are available, that could come in and be a feasible number 2 wide receiver. But I definitely do think that an addition to the defensive line that can play. I do think is it Penfrey, right? That's the D tackle that they drafted 4th from Oklahoma.
Oh.
Yeah,
that guy.
I've been in Guardians mode for so long that my draft brain is slowly coming. I'm happy I pulled that name out of it.
Yeah,
but guys like Penfrey are going to be helped by Clowney being there. So I think that I don't think they are set, but I do think that there will be some late ads. I could definitely see I wouldn't be upset if it was a T.Y. Hilton, look at or something like that, or a depth wide receiver ad that, cost $3 million, $4 million, something like that you can use half this money with, and like you said, roll it over to next year where there's some guys. So
maybe it's Joe Hayden.
Maybe
Joe.
it's Joe Hayden.
He's been talking.
Maybe Craig can get back down off his his Joe Hayden hate of actually I don't think he hated Joe Hayden. I think it's just that
he hated letting him go.
He hated Sashi for cutting him. So
yeah.
What's crazy to me is that Joe Hayden can literally post like the colors orange and brown on his Instagram, and Browns fans be like, "Wow, does this mean Joe Hayden's coming back?"
Well, I mean, any NFL player could do anything that's orange and brown, and Brown's Twitter is going to have a 1,000-person spaces on it.
Yeah, I say emergency spaces. Joe Hayden's coming back.
Right. We've currently got 2 people watching on Facebook here in WFNY. That's where we're at today. So, no, we all love you. We love every one of you. There's people in chat. I just realized.
Adam Cerny.
Adam Cerny.
Just a kid from Medina.
Gotcha. He's asking you, is Baker really worth a 5th-round pick?
Carolina-wise? Oh, hell. Were we allowed to swear?
PG-13.
Oh, heck yeah, he is. I mean, I know it's a 1-year rental, but you just see maybe that's the future franchise quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. You never know. Maybe you build a team around him and CMC, and you get 10 healthy games from CMC and 17 from Baker Mayfield a year. But yeah, I mean, if roles were reversed now as a Panthers fan, I would be perfectly fine with this.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're only paying $5 million for Baker, and you gave up a maybe 4th-round pick for sure. 100%. I'm excited about it. If I'm Carolina,
you're staring down a Darnold season, so I think
Sam Darnold and Matt Corral. Baker.
They saw that happen last year, and I don't think they want that again.
Yeah. So the other a couple more questions I have. We can switch it up and do it this way since we're talking about it. Will it work for Baker in Carolina? Do you think that there's a possibility that this is going to work out in Carolina's favor?
Is this a yes or no question, or a no and why?
This is a. I will say a yes and or a no but or whatever you want to answer it. But given the full breadth of what Carolina has, Matt Rule is the quarterback, or Matt Rule is the head coach. They have CMC, who's possibly could be the first number 1 overall pick in fantasy
for 5 games.
For 5 games, you've got you mentioned in our Discord that their wide receiver room has DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, who was against Baker on Twitter, but as a way to show support for Sam Darnold, possibly is the company line now. and Baker's favorite security blanket, Rashad Higgins, is down there in Carolina. So you can take it however you want. You can take it with Carolina's whole package that they have there. Do you think this will work out for Baker in Carolina? Is this light at the end of the tunnel for the Baker Bros that are going to follow Baker, or is this going to go down with the ship as it were?
Before we answer this, can you define what works out means? Does it mean a second contract? Does it mean win a certain amount of games?
Okay. I don't want to say playoffs because, did they add
how about he earns a contract somewhere?
Like a starting contract?
Okay.
Or like
a
Chase Daniel contract?
Starting.
Chase Daniel's a pull. That's a good on you for that one.
Best job in sports, by the way. Best job in sports.
That's good.
No doubt about it. Best job in sports, Chase Daniel.
Oh, man. What is success for Baker in Carolina? Yeah, let's go. A second contract for Carolina. Let's just say that. Is he going to get signed again by Carolina?
Gilbert, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I say no.
Perfect.
I say no, and I'm not even going to – this is not even on Baker. I just think it's a complete disaster in Carolina. They signed Ben McAdoo to be their offense coordinator for some reason beyond my belief. And their offensive line is just hideous. So he's coming he's coming into a situation just does not fit him. I don't see Ben McAdoo being the guy who can shape an offense around him like Kevin Stefanski did, and his success is based on that. And I just don't think.
I'll say this: was Stefanski's offense actually Baker's best offense?
I think so. we can see, but it just seems like he needed his best year was when the play action was working well. The defenses were actually biting on it a little bit, and they weren't initially kind of shutting that down, and it worked for them, and they went off of their run game. So in that case, I would think Carolina's going to run the ball, base it off of them, but I just don't see him just being kind of coddled almost. That's what Kevin Stefanski did. And I just don't see that in Carolina. And their offensive line is not good. And we've seen when there's stuff in his face, it is not good. It is not good.
Baker's going to be running for his life.
Yeah.
So I guess it's my turn. I think he will get a second contract somewhere. I won't specify whether that's a starting contract or second string contract, but it will not be in Carolina. Matt Rule is bound to get fired, which probably means the GM's going to get fired. And we all know the saying in the NFL, the GM and the head coach want their guy. I'm sure their guy is not going to be Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold, maybe Matt Corral, who the heck knows. But yeah, that offensive line, Baker's biggest weakness, as Browns fans know, we all know, is when, even with a good offensive line, if he's forced to get out of the pocket and then he gets in his own head and his footwork gets all messed up, that's a problem. I think that's why week one, I mean, I know that talks would be Browns, whoever's starting for the Browns at quarterback versus Baker Mayfield, but it's really going to be Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett against Baker because, I mean, Baker's going to be running for his life. But back to Baker, second contract. I guess he will not be earning his incentive, that $3.5 million back, because I think I saw somewhere that it has to do with making the playoffs. It's probably like certain snaps too, but
I just saw the tweet I saw, like I said, from Tom Withers was that that was the first time I had seen that he could earn back some salary. So that's why I had mentioned it. I did not see what the incentives were, but it was also the first time I saw the conditions for the 4th round pick. So. Yeah, as far as second contract, like I said, as you guys said, it's a cluster in Carolina, as I'm sure they can tell you. Those fans will tell you. And if we're judging success by him staying there, he's on the last year of his deal. He's a unrestricted free agent after the 2022 season. It's looking not likely that he is going to be here. So or be there rather. I don't see it working out for him. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be bad. I just don't see how Rule comes out of this season with a extension or with his job still. I do think Baker will have a chip on his shoulder. Count one for take your shot. I do think that he will come out, especially week one, guns blazing and full gunslinger mode as we saw him here. But I don't think he will play badly, but I do not think that he's going to get a second contract in Carolina just because they're due for a regime change there. So
let's just hope that Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney don't eat him alive week one so he can survive the rest of the season.
From everything we've heard, just kind of all rumors, all talk. No one's actually reported anything, I don't think. But there's talk that Myles is not a big fan of Baker, so we'll see what week one is going to drum up there. So
it was pretty much the whole entire defense, from what I've heard.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, when you throw as many picks and have to make them keep coming right back out to the field,
right. Yeah, pretty much.
This is a cleansing for me.
You get a pick, and you get a pick.
This is therapy for me. I get to say all the things that like I've wanted to say for a while. That like because I've been in my head to like I have to stick up for Baker because nobody else is, and now it's like no, I don't have to anymore. We're good. Okay.
Maybe Baker Mayfield is the Oprah Winfrey of the NFL, where he just hands out interceptions to everyone.
Sure.
I don't know how I just thought of that, but I did like that. You get a pick. Then.
Yeah, get on it.
That's the Oprah. That's the Oprah meme.
Yes. All right. Last
Somehow
question.
Oprah Winfrey just got brought up in the BrownsCast. By the way. All right, continue, please, Gerbs. I don't know where I'm going with this.
It's okay. That's why I'm running the ship tonight. So, anyway. Last question I have for you guys, and then if you guys want to stay on more, you're more than welcome. I'm feeling pretty good with this question because I think it might be a little bit of a long one. Why
will the Browns win the Super Bowl?
Why did it not work for Baker here in Cleveland?
Oh man, Gilbert, this is all you. Gilbert, I'll give you the nod. You can go first with this.
Okay. Why did it not work? We all know, as I said, the BRM signed letter, shortly before the execs go off to Houston to go talk to Watson. I'm not sure what's going to happen next of it all. Was it the forcing himself to play through the year? Was it the off the field stuff? Was it the on the field stuff? What do you think was the reasoning for it not working out? And because we can always say, they were able to get. I don't want to make light of this for the warts that Watson has. Obviously, there's a lot of baggage that he is bringing with, and we can discuss that on a different podcast. If you guys want me on for that one, I can come back and we can talk that all out, hash it all out. Watson is still a top 5 quarterback talent, even after sitting out last year. So we can't necessarily say this was on, they were able to get Watson and so Baker was gone. There was reasons they went after Watson in the first place. So why did it not work for Baker here in Cleveland?
Well, how long you got here? So
we're at 37 minutes, and I said my voice has about an hour. So
I'll check back in about 25 minutes for my response.
However you want to do, bud.
Okay. Well, okay. So it's definitely two-sided. It's not like it's all on one side. But in the end, it was just inconsistencies, just on the field and off the field, quite frankly. On the field, we saw the same problems pop up almost every season in Cleveland. He struggled with pressure. His accuracy would just be way off. His footwork would be just a mess. He never fixed it. And that was even during this good season. His footwork was never consistent. So that's on the field. Off the field, I think it's one of those things when it's successful, you kind of deal with them and you kind of love them and stuff. But his personality when you're losing and you're not playing well, it just drags. It can drag on the team. It can drag on coaching staff. By the end of last season, that's why I said at the end of, I think on our final BrownsCast of the season, I said I don't think he's going to come back because his comments just late in the season were just, it wasn't a team leader, quite frankly. He threw the coaching staff under the bus multiple times, some of the players, and then I don't think the team really liked him some of the players at least didn't like him sitting out the final game.
I was gonna say the week 18, because we have extra week now. Week 18, we're out of the playoffs. I'm gonna go sit now. It's like, well, dude, had you been sitting for longer, we would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was the end for me. Of like, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I thought going into that season, I thought, okay, maybe he turned it around. He he's gonna show some consistency, and then that 2021 season just was a disaster. It was just bad. The injury, obviously, we can't undersell it. It definitely affected him, but it just wasn't everything. It just wasn't like his mind was gone. Like his mind for like playing quarterback, he looked like a different quarterback. Nothing looked easy for him. He looked very frustrated. He looked like a guy that didn't know what was happening in front of him. And that's not all on injury. That's on just you're in a rut and you can't get out of it. So that's just some of it. And then on the Browns side, obviously the different coaching staffs didn't help, and then the injuries didn't help, and kind of playing through it didn't help. But in the end, he put himself where the team kind of gave up on him. He made the decisions on the field and off the field that kind of pushed the Browns into looking elsewhere, and it's only he can blame himself. I think there's obviously other factors, as I stated, but in the end, it was on him, and he just didn't play well. And this team needed a consistent quarterback, and they went out and got one.
Man, that was a great answer. I agree with everything Joe said, and I have nothing to add. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. I do agree with everything Joe said, though. But to continue, it all started with that injury, and it only downplayed. I guess it only spiraled down after that. The injury, all of his old habits came back, whether it was his footwork or just the simplest things. And then, I know Gilbert said this too, his antics, whether off the field or on the field, it was stuff that you could put up with when the team was winning and when things were going well. But when things aren't going well and the team's losing, it's like, it's hard to deal with, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I go back to the time Baker Mayfield, I know I'm an Ohio State fan, when Baker Mayfield planted the flag in Ohio Stadium after Oklahoma upset the Buckeyes 2017, 2018. And I hated it as an opposing fan. But if I was an Oklahoma fan, I'd love that. But it's one of those things where when things are going well, you're like, oh, heck yeah, Baker, play with that chip on your shoulder. Play like everyone doubts you. Keep being obnoxious. I know, I think it was this season when Baker got hit really hard on the sideline. It might have been in Cincinnati, and he got up and then did the first down thing. And as a Browns fan, you're like, heck yeah. But if you're losing, you're like, Baker, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
It's just like those off.
Go down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that it's like those go down, dude. We get that you're a tough dude. You're playing through a freaking
making tackles on an interception.
Exactly.
Why are you doing this? Started the whole thing.
Like I said, it all started with the injury, but then his off-field antics, on-field antics, throwing Kevin. And by the way, it's worth noting that the official statement, I'm not even reading what Dave just said in the comments. I can see it. The official statement from the Browns came at 2:57 p.m. Eastern time. D. Haslam, Jimmy Haslam, and Andrew Berry all made statements. Kevin Stefanski, almost 6 hours later, has been completely silent. I think that says a lot without saying anything at all.
It's fine.
I do want to say one more thing.
Baker threw Kevin under the bus, and Kevin's like, hey, screw you, dude. You're out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I'm more okay with him not saying anything than just the platitude, the platitudes of
the bull crap that is not true.
we can make Kevin Stefanski's PR release, right? We all know it,
right? Yeah.
This is a game me and my dad would play all the time growing up, where it's the PR. Baker was great for us while he was here. We a valued member of our team. We enjoy having we'll hope the best for him in Carolina, and it's boilerplate stuff.
Three things before we move on. One, I just noticed that your mic changes colors. That is awesome. I'm nice. Solely focused on that. Two,
I can do ASMR on this too. You want me to do that for you? I got a little popper here. Cover up. You want me to I can get real close. I don't want to. I could.
Dave Sterling in the comments, Demoko on YouTube. I do not hate Baker for the flag plant. It's just one of those things where I'd love it as an Oklahoma fan, and it's an easy way to hate on him as an Ohio State fan. And 3, I totally lost my train of thought. I don't know what 3 was. Oh, I'd rather Kevin Stefanski do well, we knew he was going to say this statement than just be silent. I think him being silent says more than anything he could have said.
I'm okay.
That's just me, though.
I get it. I get it because you do want him to. I just think that it's probably Stefanski's thing to not comment on players that are leaving the team. Did he make comments about OBJ leaving? When the trade was made, did he make any comments?
I think it was just Andrew Berry. He did it at the press conference. That's a little bit different because it was during the season.
And it's different because it's your franchise quarterback. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably making too big of a deal about it. I just think it's.
I get it. I
do want to say that I think people that say, "Oh, it was just based on 2021." I don't believe that because they didn't offer him a contract extension after his great 2020 season, and that we should have probably kind of took a step back and kind of saw that and wondered why. I think they saw the inconsistency and they wanted to see if he was going to be more consistent. And obviously he answered that as a big fat no.
Yeah.
So it was just, it didn't all just come down to last season. It was just a kind of pile up of a bunch of crap that kind of hit the wall.
Yeah. I agree. I do think that there's that I hadn't thought about that that we probably should have looked a little bit deeper into that at the time. But yeah, it is interesting to think that they didn't sign to an extension when they had an opportunity to get him really cheap. Before the Josh Allen contract, before whatever Lamar is going to do.
And supposedly they never even offered him.
At
least that I've heard that I don't think they even put in like an extension, like a low bar extension at all.
Right.
So,
yeah. I will echo your guys' statements in that Baker is 100% one of those guys that when he's on your team, you love him. The Joakim Noah, the Anderson Varejao, I can't even say Antonio Bryant because no one really enjoys him. So just the antics, the antics.
Compare Joakim Noah to Anderson Varejao ever again.
No, I'm just saying they're in that same vein. They're in that same vein where it is a guy that you hate to see. Patrick Beverly. I love Patrick Beverly from afar because he's just an a-hole. He's a jerk. He's a jerk. 100% a jerk. But you want to love him almost because he's a jerk. But when you play him, you're like, dang it, I do not want to play that guy. No. I laugh all the time at the Joakim Noah clapping gif, at the dysfunction. And that's 100% something Baker would do. And he's absolutely the guy. When he's rolling, he's going to tell you, he's going to have office quotes in his press conferences after the game. He's going to have rap lyrics in the press conferences after the game. And when he's down, you're going to have him in the trench coat. You're going to have him in the trench coat doing the Baker face.
Won't show up to the press conference.
Right. Or whatever. And you're going to have the throwing under the bus of the coaching staff. You're going to have a whole bunch of other things that come out. And he's absolutely the antics are there and the antics happen when it's going good. And when it's going bad, it's going bad. It's off the rails. And I think that they saw the writing on the wall and got out before it got real bad. And we all said it at the beginning of the podcast. We're just all kind of happy that it's done at this point. We don't have to worry about what's what's to come. What fight is Baker? What beat reporter is Baker going to have a beef with in the offseason? And why is it going to be Tony Grossi always?
Oh my God.
There's things I could say. Yeah, so I think we're all great with Baker being gone, and whatever you were able to get for him, you got for him. Bodie was pushing real hard for holding on to him and getting a 3rd round comp pick at the end of the year, but who's to say that you're actually going to get a 3rd round comp pick for him?
Right. You gotta not spend then, which I don't think they want.
Yeah, you're eating 8.5 mil, which, like I said, that's a fairly decent player. That's good. That's good savings on the cap that rolls over to next year.
Right.
When you're past the Watson stuff next year, feasibly, where you're looking more toward, not saying that I'm writing off 2022 because we don't know what his suspension is going to be, but when he's here next year, starting every game, like I said, feasibly, you have that money to put into the team and the roster after that. So if they don't use it, they could use it this year. They could. It could. Watson could get 4 games, and then immediately they go get Will Fuller to sit out the 4 games that Watson's out, and then come back, because that's what he does.
That's a good point. Yeah, we're just one step closer to knowing who the quarterback is.
Right.
That's all. That's
every day, one step closer.
One step closer. Hopefully next week, maybe. Hopefully.
I was really surprised it didn't come out over the 4th of July weekend. I really thought it was going to be a Friday July's first news dump that they were going to let out and just roll into the weekend.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Sue Robinson does not care. She does not care about PR. She's going to do whatever she wants to do. And I'm assuming, I think, July 11th is when their what do they call post briefs or whatever are due by,
I think.
Yeah. So hopefully sometime next week. I think what's that, Monday? So hopefully maybe by the end of the week, Friday, something like that. But I would assume they would shoot for before training camp. I would hope.
They've made I think NFL leaks have come out and said that there's every indication they will know before training camp how long he's going to be suspended. If he's
2 weeks. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. So just keep an eye on that now, and then we'll finally have an answer of kind of what to expect this season.
Right. Do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about, discuss?
I'm just happy it's over, man. It's just
True that.
It is just I don't have to watch NFL live and see the same damn story, same rumors that nothing has changed. It's fake rumors about trades to teams that aren't even interested. It's just nice to kind of put it behind us. It was great having him here. He changed the culture kind of from a really dark spot it was in. That first win after the losing streak is one of the best games kind of experiences as a Browns fan, which is kind of sad. But
the Browns won.
We take them where we can get them, okay?
Right. The beer fridges.
We don't get a lot of things. We take the nice things that happen when we can have them.
Right. The beer fridges, and it was just he helped us get kind of to the next level, but it kind of just panned out that he was kind of stuck, and he wasn't able. He's not a quarterback that kind of can take you to the top level, the elite level that we needed. So it was time to move on, and I think it'll work out for the Browns, obviously, depending on the suspension. But I think it's I think in the end, I think it works out for Baker sometime. I don't know, in next year or the year after, but eventually I think we'll probably see him starting somewhere in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think he's done. I don't think
No.
he's admittedly too talented to be able
Yeah.
to not to be better than the Drew Locks of the world.
Right.
Just thinking of the fodder that was out there, Mitch Trubisky, Andy Dalton, he'll latch on somewhere, and even if it's a backup,
Right.
on a team that has a young quarterback that they're working behind him, whatever.
I feel like he might turn into like a Fitzpatrick almost.
Yeah,
kind of going around places, but it's going to be interesting to see after in free agency and then after going forward if teams look at his background as kind of his antics as we've been saying and see if they actually want to build around him or if they kind of view him as a short-term answer. So that's the question I think going forward for him. Is he going to be a long-term answer for anybody or just going to be a continuous short-term answer?
Josh, any last thoughts?
Finally over. I'm glad. I feel bad for the radio heads and the talking heads on TV that now can't discuss if Baker Mayfield's going to start for the Browns in 2022 if Deshaun
They have
Watson
to make up new material.
Yeah, you have to make up new material now. But
don't worry, they have 2 weeks and then they can talk about training camp. Did you see that pass?
Man, no. The new thing might be: what if Baker Mayfield plays well and then turns back to the Browns? I'm sure someone somewhere is going to somehow link the Baker and the Browns like a reunion somehow. But I'm just like Joe said, like we've been saying this whole time. I'm glad it's over. This will probably be one of the last times we talk about Baker on the BrownsCast. I'm gonna miss Baker just
after
because
week
the
one.
good times.
I'm gonna say
after
true.
One.
After week one.
True.
I mean, we can't. We have to talk about the size of the chip on his shoulder. So
huge chip, huge family size.
Too.
I'm just glad it's not at home.
I kind of wish it was at home. Because
it might be another Bottlegate situation.
Does Tony? Well, hold on. Important question. Does Tony Grossi travel? Because I cannot wait
think they do now,
for Tony Grossi's first post game press conference question to Baker.
That is going to be good.
Are they actually going to be like buddies now? Is it like
Baker is going to go off on him now? Baker doesn't care about. Who cares if he makes Tony Grossi mad? He'll never talk to him after.
For some reason, I can see a world where he's like, "No, we're friends now. We're good. No, we're good. You're not getting on me anymore."
I can't wait for that. Yes, Tony Grossi, WKNR, Baker Mayfield. So I cannot wait for Baker Mayfield's response to any question.
Out there.
I feel like if it was at home, it would I think the stands would just be like in chaos because
divided.
Yeah, you would have like the Baker Bros. You would have the Baker Bros started before the game. Okay, when he gets announced, you guys we're gonna clap and start a chant or something, and then the the more realistic fans will be booing him. So it would I think it would have been just a super big mess, and I'm glad it's at Carolina this year.
Do you think
as a season ticket holder?
Do you think the NFL knew that he was going to Carolina?
Yes. I think so. Yeah, because they did Seattle and Denver. Isn't that their opener? I think. So they
is it the opener?
I think
they have. Well,
Drew Lock versus Russell Wilson. Man, what a
that came. That trade came after this or came before the schedule, so that's not that
true.
Weird.
But I feel like you do the schedule. It takes time, so
it's certainly a conspiracy. But I mean, Carolina's literally been the link since day one that Baker asked for a trade.
Let's go downstairs and get my tinfoil so I can put that on. I need the tinfoil hat right now.
The minute Baker asked for a trade, though, Carolina was one of the first names that people mentioned, or first teams that people mentioned.
Yeah.
My wife for sure has red yarn somewhere. I can do the Charlie Day.
It was the clearest, most glaring spot for him. It was a coach on the hot seat that needed a win now, it was a team that had just a dumpster fire at quarterback, and it just all lined up. It was just a matter of when.
It sounds like you're describing a lot of Browns pre-Stefanski teams. The coach is on the hot seat. The quarterback room was a dumpster fire.
Pretty much.
But seriously, though, I mean, the fact that this is obviously just going to be like a conspiracy thing, but the fact that the NFL scheduled Carolina Browns week 1, it was inevitable.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you guys are good, that is enough for me. I am good. Are we? How are you guys going to be?
1 hour.
Yeah, I did it, guys. we made it. The voice is still here for a little bit. I took some time off while you guys were talking. So are we going to have more BrownsCast coming up as we get closer to training camp and into practice?
Definitely.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
Once we hopefully get the news on Deshaun, that kind of opens up the.
I will probably be back for that one, and I might pop in on a couple more BrownsCasts as we get closer to the season starting. I will be recording a cornercast tomorrow with Farmer Ethan. If you guys are, if that's a joke that the 12 people that listen to the cornercast will get. So, and Ethan, he won't listen to it.
I honestly kind of feel bad that you guys had to discuss like the last week of games.
It's not great. It's not what I want to do with my time, but I've made a social contract now with the people that we as few as they are, we do have people that ask when we take time off, and we did just take a week off a couple weeks ago. So we need to come back. So
I can't.
Maybe we'll just talk about the guys that should be with the team. So
I can't wait for the Oscar Mercado segment. That's going to be awesome.
Oh.
Right. Speaking of going away and coming back again, Oscar Mercado and the cornercast are back.
I know. I gotta say, I don't have enough alcohol in the house for Oscar Mercado talk tomorrow. Reminds me to get some Miller Lights. So
that or the Ernie Clement segment. Which one?
They're all great. They're all good. They're all what I want to hear. You know, that's what we do. Like I said, I enjoy doing it, but I'll be writing a little bit more, I'm sure, for the Browns. I know Joe will as well, and like I said, I will show up here on your BrownsCast feeds when I have time because I have 2 toddlers. So and just to finish it off, BrownsCast, we usually go weekly during the season. We weren't really around for training camp because we started during the regular season last year. I think week 1 last year.
So we probably won't, unless something major happens, we probably won't be back till training camp. We'll probably go like every other week during training camp. And then once the season comes, we'll be on at least once a week. I think Joe and I are going to plan on doing like a preview as well. Yeah. Because talking is a lot easier than writing. As we have all learned.
I gotta say, we've turned into the WFNY podcast network as opposed to the writing side. And I think I said to you, Josh, in passing on our Discord, it's much easier to talk for an hour than write for 3. So it's
pretty much
that's how it is. It takes longer to consume the hour podcast than the 10-minute article that you can read. Yeah. But the 3 hours I spend writing, that that adds up. So all right, guys. Well, that for Josh, for the original Joe, this is Gerbs signing off of the BrownsCast. You guys have a great one.
See ya.